Good morning and welcome to the Morning Coffee Show. I'm Prince Hakeem.
Amanda Love.
And today we got a topic that most people love to talk about and some are shy about it, but not us: sex and relationships. So we all know 2019, 2020 is kind of what we're going into. Sex and dating is kind of a different thing than it was 10 years ago. So we're gonna touch on a few things that a lot of people need to know about if you're in the dating world, on the dating scene. I'm not really on the dating scene, but I have a lot of conversations with people that are on the dating scene. So I hear some different things out there, and very interesting. One of the big topics that we'll talk about today is if you have sex with somebody on the first date, what does that translate to? I guess when I was dating, that means something completely different, but nowadays it seems like it's commonplace. It's not a really big deal. Sex is one of those things that just kind of happens, but you can talk about it, you know. You got that look on your face.
I guess I'm on the fence.
Yeah.
I think there's a time and place, and I think it depends on the person and the relationship, and I'm all for free-spirited, whatever. But if somebody does say like, oh, I choose not to be with this person because of the way things transpired from the beginning, I can't knock you.
Yeah. Well, let's jump into that real quick. Well, I do have some tips for you, don't worry. We're going to get into that for you to kind of help you along. But first dates, there's some do's and don'ts. I just feel like it's like a clear...
Are there some do's and don'ts?
There are some do's and don'ts. If you're not going to have sex on the first date, let's not talk about all your past relationships on the first date either. Like...
We shouldn't reference sexual things on the first date if we're not...
There can be chemistry and energy there.
No, I'm not saying there can't be chemistry. What I'm saying is I shouldn't talk about things I do in the bedroom, or I shouldn't talk about things that I like or don't like sexually on the first date if I'm not intending on doing anything sexual on the first date.
Maybe sometimes I just get your mind running and leave it to the imagination.
I mean, I think flirtation and sexual chemistry is always good. But I think specific references to certain things can kind of take things to a place that, depending on what you're looking for, and depending on where you intend for that to go, you may not want to. Now, and I think even that, if it seems like, like we were saying, sometimes things just happen. And if it was like, oh, we spent the day together and something did legitimately just happen, then that's one thing. But it's something when you feel like this was the intention all day long.
Yeah, I mean, going into it, you can tell like,
if the goal was like, I'm going in this to smash.
You can tell from like the initial conversation, it feels like
exactly.
You can tell the energy is like getting really sexual, or you can tell it's all about one particular job, and that's to make you feel comfortable enough to come with me. But it happens, right? So people do sleep together on the first night. I personally don't think it's a bad thing. I mean, when you're an adult and it's consensual sex and you both want it, okay, who am I? I'm not here to judge you. I would say be careful because, there's a lot that comes involved with that. There's emotions, there's, STDs, there's potential other people that you don't know about. Like, there's a lot that can go into that. And so if you are sleeping with somebody on the first date, just be prepared for just about anything because that person could be crazy.
I was just going to say, and see, like, I think the one thing, and we'll touch on this too, is that the one thing that I think that we've forgotten about, or that seems to like be this like push under the rug, let's not talk about it, and it was very much so talked about when we were younger and we were dating, was like just regular old safety. Like, people are crazy, people will kill you, people will kidnap you, and just like you said, like, people have girlfriends, people have boyfriends, people have husbands, people have wives that you don't know about, and 9 out of 10 times, like nowadays, people are meeting people on the internet or through social media, so you really have no clue like where these people come from or what their background is. And I have heard tons of stories about women that I know personally that have met somebody from a dating app or a website, and they're like legit crazy. So you just literally, you don't know.
I think we're in a time where people are desensitized about safety. You gotta think we have Uber and Lyft. So people get in a car with a stranger with no problem. And so to go into someone's house nowadays is not uncommon because you got Grubhub and you got all these delivery places that you don't necessarily work for a company that can track you. Like, we are so desensitized about safety that we're not thinking, oh.
Yeah, we just go through the motions of like,
exactly.
Oh, we're just gonna do whatever and it's not a big deal.
Exactly.
And until
it's a big deal.
Until it's a big deal.
Until they actually.
Until his wife comes through the door with a butcher knife.
Or the husband is waiting for you by your car. So I just say this: be careful. Everything that you do, y'all could have been dating for 2 weeks. I would still say be careful. You just don't really know a person until you get to really know a person. I'm a firm believer that if you haven't seen a person spaz out, like get in a real high intense situation, you really don't know them because you don't know how they really will act in situations, right? So if they can remain calm, it's something that most people are really high intense about, then that's an indicator that it's a good person that you might want to be around when things go sour, right? But if this person's not getting their way and they spaz out on the waiter, 9 times out of 10 they may spaz out on you too. Like, it's kind of like if they're not getting anything out of someone that they want to get out of them at that moment, that could be underlines of being, I don't know, a sociopath or whatever. You just don't know. I mean, I can only imagine. But on first dates, no, you shouldn't talk about your past relationships. You shouldn't want them to meet your kids on your first date.
First date?
Yeah, some people do it.
You're right.
Some people do it, not on the first date, because you don't know who that person is. You're exposing yourself and your kids to that person.
I think we have been desensitized to just boundaries in general. Like people having personal space, understanding that like there's an appropriate way to like meet somebody and gradually let them into your space. And take the appropriate precautions to like really get to know someone. And that's not to say I'm not just as guilty of it, but there is such thing as like trusting your gut and understanding like you meet certain people and if you get a feeling or you get a vibe or something your gut is telling you don't do it. And it's okay to say like I'm not comfortable with something or I don't think that's okay or I don't want to do that. And I think sometimes people get so caught up in like what will they think of me or how will we go forward if I don't do something they want to do or I don't like something they like doing, and it kind of stops progress and people just do whatever just to go with the flow.
It's just where we are, just be more mindful of that type of stuff because you could lead yourself into something that you can't get out of. And just because you really thought it was completely innocent.
Like a backseat abduction.
Duct tape, rope. And I'm making light of it, but hey, it happens more often than you think. Because people are a little nutso out here. But leading to that, we have some tips for you guys when it comes to dating and having sex, those type of things. Because it is important, I think, if you're looking for someone, even if it's just for a hookup, or if you're looking for someone for a long-term relationship, these are some things that you may need to know regarding dating, right? Even if you're just hooking up with someone, let me let you in on a secret. That's still dating someone. It's a form of dating. If you're just hooking up, it's a form of dating because anytime you take time away from your life to spend any amount of time with someone else, that's kind of a form of dating because you're giving up something that you typically will hold for someone or something else, right? So that's a form of dating. I'm not saying that's your boyfriend, that's your girlfriend, whatever, but it's a form of dating.
So let's clarify that since you brought that up that way. So some people don't even know what dating is.
Right.
Some people just like kind of wing it and say like, oh, I'm hooking up or I'm seeing people. So let's touch on real quick like what our opinion of dating really is.
All right.
I would say depending on how we talk about it, like if I'm talking to the individual or if I'm speaking to a friend in general and I say I'm dating, to me, if I'm saying I'm dating to a friend in conversation, then that means I'm single and I am dating whoever. Yeah, I didn't give a specific, like, I'm dating this person. That means I'm single and I'm free to date whoever I want.
Right.
And I'm open to meeting new people, or I'm open to going out with people, getting to know people. If I say I'm dating a specific person exclusively, then that means that's the only person I'm dealing with. And that's the person, like, I'm looking at moving forward with, or progress, or just with that person. But when I say dating, that could be, like you said, a number of things. It could be hooking up, it could be dinner, it could be movies. It doesn't necessarily mean I'm sleeping with that person. It doesn't mean I'm not. It could be multiple people, it could be just one person. But if somebody says they're dating, to me that means they're single and they're open and available to meeting people and dating people, going out with people and spending time with people, and looking at the prospect of going into a relationship possibly with one of those individuals in the future, not necessarily in a committed relationship though.
No, that's fair. No, I mean, that's pretty much where I was at with it. So, like, you're just in the dating world, which means, once again, you can date your friend. People don't realize that when you go out and have dinner with a friend, or a lunch date, that's what I call a lunch date with your friend, it's not necessarily a bad thing. When people say, oh, you dating, how you gonna date you with this person? Like, wait a minute.
I've heard that too a lot. Like, when I talk about relationships.
Yeah.
And I say, like,
you have a relationship with different people.
With anybody. Like, if I say me and Prince are in a relationship, we're in a relationship as a friendship.
Yeah.
If I have a friendship with somebody, that is a kind of relationship. Just, I have a relationship with coworkers. It's just a professional relationship. I have a relationship with my friends. I have a relationship with associates.
Yeah.
I have a relationship with my daughter. I have a relationship with my ex-husband. Like, they're just different kinds of relationships. And I don't think, just like you said, enough people pay attention to, like, what am I giving to this relationship? How you were talking about time. Like, if it's just hooking up, and I think about, like, I have a daughter and I have a home and I have a family, or, you know, whatever, my parents or whoever it is that I spend, you know, quality time with. If I take away from that by, you know, having a casual sexual relationship with somebody, I'm still dedicating time that I'm taking away from this to do that.
Yep.
So there's some, even though some people would casually say, like, oh, it doesn't mean anything, I'm just going to do that, you're still taking from someplace else to dedicate time and effort to being here. And if you don't pay attention to how you're doing that, you're not placing any attention on the time and value that you're putting on that situation.
Right.
And people act like it's very casual, like, oh, it's not a big deal, I'm just doing this. But if you're doing that and somebody's babysitting your kid, you just took time away from your child so you could go casually do whatever.
Right.
So, you know, when we say that, I don't think people pay attention enough.
I think you hit it right on the head. You know, just be more open when it comes to when people talk about relationships, because the first thing you think of in a relationship, oh, you have some type of commitment to somebody, and that's true. You have a relationship with your friends, and you have a commitment as a friend to that person. You have a commitment and a relationship with your parents. Yeah, that's a relationship. You know, you have a relationship with the person that you're actually in an actual committed relationship with as well. So I think people make that word off limits or even dirty when it comes to certain situations. Like, relationships aren't bad. Just clarify the relationship.
Like, as soon as you say relationship, there's some sort of, like,
oh, your item.
Yeah.
Like,
or like big commitment in reference to being an item, or reference to, like, there is a level, like you said, of commitment to everyone that you're in a relationship with. They just all hold different standards. So with that being said,
let's jump into it. I'm gonna help you out with the dating tips. So number one is to be open. So when you're in a relationship, be open. Try different things. You know, date some different people. Don't close yourself off from, you know, the possibilities of something outside your norm.
So an example would be of something like this would be saying, like, that's not my type.
Right.
You know, I only date guys that are like 6'5" and above, tall, dark, and handsome, They need to have this, this, and this, and they should be working here and driving this kind of vehicle. Like, when people do that, you automatically, every time you put, you know, an X by something that the standard should be, you are narrowing the tunnel of like who the possibilities are. And I have found that when I do that, or when I have done that in the past, it's never what I think it's going to be.
Right.
Like, it's always when I have that in my head and I'm like, I want a guy that looks like this, that does this, that has this kind of job, that makes this kind of money, that does, you know, we all have that in our head, like who we want to end up with. And I have always found that when I have done that to myself, I never end up with that person.
Yeah,
like, I always find the person that I'm attracted to, or the person that I end up having a good vibe with or feeling good, is never all the things that I checked off.
Right, because the thing is, you have an idea of what you're like, but your idea and your realistic meeting of people, which means like, okay, I had in my mind that I was gonna meet, you know, somebody like Sanaa Lathan, and you know, she's gonna, you know, have a great job, no kids, and you know, we're gonna hit it off like that. And then I met Lauren London, you know what I'm saying? And you see her name, then I met Lauren London, and it's kind of like, well, she's really cool. She doesn't necessarily like Sanaa Lathan.
And it's just Lauren London.
And it's, you know, it's Lauren London, and you know, I can do with Lauren London, you know what I'm saying?
It's okay, I can stand for that.
And she doesn't, you know, she doesn't do the same things as a Sanaa Lathan, but you know, we work well together. You know what I'm saying? And so I think it's okay. I think to have an idea of a person that you would like to be with, and I think we get these ideas from different places. They can be from, you know, as we grew up, people that we saw, movies, books, all these things that we kind of like form an opinion of who we think we should be with. But you know, in reality, we meet all different types of people, and so we're running across people that will have just about everything on their list, but maybe not. You know, as long as you work well together, and you know, often but not. People look at online dating. We're just talking about that, right? They say, "Oh man, that's for like losers." Like I don't really think that. I think if I was in the dating world, I would try it just to see what it's about, because you never know.
I have.
You tried it?
Yeah.
Did it work? Did you meet some good people?
Yes.
Did you meet some weird people?
I met some weird people. I met some good people. I actually met, I would genuinely say I met guys via online dating apps or social media that were dateable material. Absolutely. That were genuinely good guys. Now, I will also put this in with it and say, there's a certain amount of due diligence you have to do when you're dealing with people that way. And I kind of set some rules for myself because it was new for me. So it was like I wanted to deal with somebody like via that. If I was using an app or social media or whatever, you know, I'm only talking to this person via that way, you know, for a specific amount of time or until I felt comfortable. It wasn't going to be like I met you that day on whatever it was, Tinder, and then we met that night and went out to dinner. No. So a lot of the people I met that way, I spoke to that way for like weeks or months before I actually met them in person.
Right.
So it was almost like it was almost like those people, by the time I met them, I knew enough about them, so there wasn't this like weird, it was like more of an excitement to meet them in person. Right. It wasn't like this weird, awkward, like we're going on this date and I've only been talking to him for 2 days. It was like, I was excited to meet them in person.
Yeah.
And although I'm not in a relationship with any of those people now, I will say that they were genuinely good guys. And there is no reason why they would not be in a relationship with anyone and be in perfectly good, healthy relationships right now. They just weren't for me. Yeah. But they were good guys. But again, it was due to like us having ongoing conversation and really getting to know each other. And They were also like of a certain age, so they were older and probably more experienced in dating, have been married or been in significant relationships before. So there's a certain level of experience that comes along with that too.
Right.
And letting somebody know that, no, I'm not just doing this to sleep with somebody. Sometimes you have to say that.
Yeah.
But like I said, it's about like how you conduct yourself, how they conduct themselves, and knowing that everybody that's in it is in it for the same reasons.
Yeah. So you can take your time, to your point. Like when you're on these dating sites, you can take your time. You're not really pressured or rushed into anything. When you meet somebody out at the bar, I think that's a little bit more awkward than you meeting somebody online, because you can just really take your time, and you then, going back to what you said before, I kind of know why I'm here. If I'm here to hook up, you're here to hook up, you do that, right? But if you're here and you're trying to get to know each other, you'll feel that going through that type of process. So that's what I said, it's not too bad to really do that. If you want to date that way and get to know people, we're in a digital world. Everything we do is on our phones, laptops, and tablets. It's like, that's just where we are. We're a busy world doing busy things.
I will say this though, there was one, I just thought about it like as you were talking, there was a guy that I met on Tinder, and we spoke for like 2 days, and at one point and it was cool, like I told him like I'm not trying to sleep with nobody, that's not like, I'm just getting to know people or whatever. And on the second day he was like, can I have your phone number so I can FaceTime you? Or Facebook so I can video message you? And I was like, who does this guy think he is? But I said that because I was like, no, a little too much. I don't give out my phone number, blah, 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 and explain myself, like not in a mean way. But when he gave me his justification as to why, I was like, I get it.
You want to make sure you're real.
He was doing exactly what I was doing. Like, he was like, I get it. You're trying to kind of like just keep me at a distance and get to know me, and I understand. However, before I put that kind of time and energy into like getting to know somebody, I want to see if you're really who you say you are.
Right.
And I was like,
catfish is out there.
And he made a joke, like he was like, I want to make sure you're not an old fat white guy or something, like being funny. But I was like, I get it. And I gave him my Facebook, I think, and he videoed me, and we talked for a little while that way. And I was like, because at first I was like, no. But when he said why, I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Because
I want to make sure you're not an old fat white guy either. Like,
And I thought about it, and I was like, there is a lot of that going around. Or like I had a male friend who met a girl on Plenty of Fish, and he went to dinner with her, like met her 2 days before, planned the dinner, didn't talk to her again, like just, I'll meet you there, okay, cool. And when he got there, he realized that the picture was like from a long time ago.
Like 10 years ago.
And he was like, oh my
I
God.
would be like, this ain't you? Who's this? Why is this your profile picture? We put this up.
And he mentioned it, he asked her like, how old was that picture? And she was honest, she was like, that was a while ago, like, my niece's graduation or something.
Why are you using that?
And, but again, to the point of like, just being honest.
To that point, I'm sorry, sidetrack. When you do your profile pictures, or most of your pictures, yada, right?
Be honest.
If you're only taking pictures from here to here, and all your pictures, like you flip through a person's pictures and the only thing they have is from here to here.
So here's for both sides. Be honest.
Guys too.
Other side, be realistic about what you're looking at.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, be honest, but when you're looking at somebody else's profile and you're looking at their stuff and you notice all of their pictures are like here to here, or like right here, or not of them, or the big group picture where you can't really see them because they're kind of like off in the back, and it's like, no, that's not me, that's me in the corner. Like, if you know that, then that's probably not a great looking person.
And I do want to clean something up real quick. We're not just banging on old fat white guys. Old fat white guys, there's nothing wrong with you. Love yourself. Let's go to our next one. Love yourself. is the next thing. Often singles are worried about their partner and what they can do for someone else and how they are a benefit to someone else. I think the first thing before you even think about being with someone else, take care of you, do things for you. Don't neglect yourself by not going on that trip or buying that car, that house, or things that you want. Take care of you, love yourself first, and then you'll be able to love someone else. You'll be able to give more to another person because you can tell them and show them how you'd like to be treated and loved as well. So, love yourself.
Got it.
Phil, yes? No? Maybe
Yeah, absolutely. I was gonna look at the statistics.
And that's for guys too. Like guys, I know we're like really like the protector and want to take care of someone and all that stuff. But love yourself first. Get yourself to a point where you know that you're a catch. You know, a lot of women look at men and say, "Hey, is he a really good catch? You know, how is he taking care of himself?" A lot of single men, if you're not taking care of yourself well, women sometimes can look at that and say, "Hey, he can't take care of himself. He can't take care of me either. He doesn't, eat healthy enough, or he doesn't work out like he's supposed to, or if he do or don't, at least I know that he's making sure that he's well taken care of. He bathes at least 3 times a week. At least 3. And there's 7 days in a week.
At least 3?
At least 3.
Okay.
At least 3 people.
Oh boy.
Hopefully every day.
Hopefully more often than 3, but I mean, you can't have everything, right?
Hey, that's the realistic expectations of a person.
That's scary.
I mean, if I wash my ass 3 times a day, 3 times a week, catch me on a good day.
So let me give you a fun fact.
Okay.
So I was looking at a bunch of research studies, of course, right? So that's why I was messing with my phone, so you guys could hear this stuff. So, according to the research, this was done, let me see, a survey done by a magazine. And it says they interviewed almost 2,000 women. 43% of them said they had been on no dates in the past 3 months, and 27% had only been on 1 to 3 dates. 67% of them report that the dates they have been on have not been a good match. And 87% of them had met them either on social media or dating apps, while 51% of them say they don't enjoy using them. And then it talks about like after the first date, waiting for him to call. If it's been more than 24 hours and the guy has not called, texted, contacted you, it says there's a 12% chance you might hear from him.
Dang.
So if you don't hear from him after the date within 24 hours, you probably won't hear from him.
Can I give you a fun fact, just from a man's standpoint with that too? Mm-hmm. You want to know why men will not call you back? Do you really want to know? Here are some reasons why. You hear the alarms going off, right? Because it's real. A fun fact, a couple reasons why men won't call women back is because 1 or 2 things. They went on a date, they were talking, it was really irritating. He felt you can be very needy or clingy. He feels that, or it could be that he was in it for one thing and you wasn't down for that one thing and he's not going to waste his time.
You were probably oversharing.
Yeah, he was probably oversharing. Or we had talked about this on a previous show, I believe, right? I think we did. If he comes to your crib.
Oh, we did.
And your house is filthy, he may not call you back.
Ever.
He may never show back up ever. So just be very cautious of that, because men, we are slobs, but we don't want our women to be slobs either. You know what I mean? So somebody has to be clean. Yeah, somebody has to clean. Listen, come on, we all can't be.
So another survey I found said that only 27% of women think that online dating, like apps, is a good way to meet men, while 45% of them said they're still not even sure where to meet a good man.
Fair enough.
So it also says that the suggestion is that you should not, as we know most people that do use these online dating apps, they use them all day. Like they check them all day.
Because it goes off. It goes ping, ping, ping.
And they think it's the funniest thing in the world, and they're swiping and they're clicking and messaging. It says that ideally, if you're putting time and effort into like meeting people to just gain a genuine connection, you shouldn't spend more than 30 minutes a day. Meaning, it says you should check them in the morning to like respond or whatever, reach out, and then you should check them for like 15-20 minutes in the evening. Because it should be something where you're like casually getting to know somebody and building a foundation, because that's the purpose of it. It's not.
Yeah, I can see that. If you're constantly on it and you're constantly hitting the person up over and over and over, it looks like you don't have a job.
So there's almost like this, how you were saying, like that first date feel where you're like oversharing. It's like too much.
It's too much. What you doing? Where you at?
Exactly.
You off work? You eating? You in the shower?
And then it talks about only 60% of the people who actually use dating apps and dating websites, only 60% of those people actually go on dates.
That's a high number.
That is a high number.
It's over.
So the likelihood that you might like meet someone and actually go out with them and is pretty decent.
Right.
This was pretty interesting. We just talked about honesty. There was a website that talked about the things men and women most commonly lie about on dating apps. Age, height, and income. Women lie about their weight and age and physical build most frequently. Men lie about their age, height, and income. So
That's about right. They do that in person too.
yeah, pretty much. And then this one I just found funny. So women approximately 26 years old have more online pursuers than other women. So in that age range, like 25, 26. Men, can you guess the age for online pursuers? Like where it's the highest?
30s? No.
48.
Oh. They want that silver back. They want that mature. They want that age.
So it says as men get older, the tables turn. Men approximately 48 years of age have twice as many people after them as women the same age.
Of course. Because you know why? You're established. You know? You in the game now. You got that retirement money about to come in. You know what I mean? You got time to be playing around. You don't want no kids.
So there's a lot of little, I think a lot of little things that like people that are a little older don't really know, because, and I'm saying older like our age, like between 35 and 45, because we're not from the dating app era, text messaging, because this also talked a lot about, and I'm not going to get into the details of it, but it talks a lot about texting. And I don't mind texting so much, but it does talk about a lot of people from like certain eras that don't text, and those relationships are highly more likely to be less successful because it lacks communication, and text is a big form of communication today. So, you know, people take certain things about text messaging as like very solid communication, right? And even though we both know that text messaging is not like a reliable source of communication, it is something that plays into how somebody sees you as responding to them. So it says that 45% of people say that their relationship improved when they text or responded more to the individual they were speaking to, and 47% of women, 50% of men say that they have carried on relationships and sent nude or explicit photos. So that was like a common thing where they talked about like that people would ask, like, send me a photo.
Send me a nude. Send me a full body.
So those are
At
kind
least
of,
they asked.
well, they were things to kind of like I was looking at like points to kind of be aware of. You know, like if somebody asks you to do that, don't be like so offended. It is something common that people talk about.
Yeah, send me that pic.
And it talked about Virginia. You're gonna love this. This is kind of funny. Virginia, Nebraska, and Delaware, highest rates of divorce in the U.S.
Really? Is it because of the dating apps?
So about 60% of the marriages in Virginia end in divorce. And
Wow. I just don't believe I'm sticking it out, huh? All right, Virginia, I see.
but it does say divorce rates have been declining over the past like 10 years, and they've declined more significantly for younger people rather than older people. Like before it used to be, it talks a lot about before it used to be people that were in their late 40s, 50s, so people that were retiring were getting divorced because of life changes and things like that. Now they're saying that that has kind of changed over time, but people that are like more our age are learning to like stick it out. So it has been a little shift in the way things have kind of been presenting themselves, but it's like things for us, and I think younger people, to be more aware of like as they proceed in developing relationships.
Yeah, it seems like a lot. And for those who are dating more,
It is.
I pray for y'all every day, only because it seems like a lot between online dating, meeting somebody at the bar, and that's the question I'm gonna ask you. If you had to meet someone, like, and then I'll ask the question too.
Okay.
Where is like an ideal place to meet somebody? You say, hey, I met the perfect person that I'm going to be with. Where would you have met them?
I don't know. I'm trying to think of like where I've met the majority of the people I've dealt with as far as dating, and obviously, I was married for a long time, so a lot of my relationships, I was in the military, and so a lot of my relationships were either like work. Not necessarily, I don't date people I work with, typically, but either work related or somebody else that was in the military. But most recently, I would say like through friends. So like me and you go out, we're hanging out, you introduce me to your friend. And most of the time, that's how I end up meeting people. I think for me specifically, I'm very cautious, and I have to feel comfortable with somebody to even like entertain that. So it would probably have to be something where I feel comfortable and I feel safe, and there has to be some like building. And that's what I talked about with the apps. It was like I would have to talk to them for like a longer period of time because I have to feel comfortable saying like, hey, I would never tell somebody to come to my house, but I would have to feel even comfortable saying like, hey, let's meet somewhere, or let's go do something, or whatever.
Yeah, I like that because it does give it an introduction. You will hope the friend, like you will hope I would just introduce you to.
Like you wouldn't set me up with somebody. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean it happens, but I'm just saying. But you'll hope you have enough trust in the person that you are friends with to say, hey, this is a great person. They typically hang around great people. I'm interested. He's interested.
But that also speaks to like the type of people that you surround yourself with.
Right.
Like how we talked about relationships. And like I said, guys, I know this is a lot because it goes to like who the core of that individual is, right? If I'm fostering good relationships normally and my friendships, and I say like, I know you're a good friend to me, you wouldn't set me up with no craziness.
Yeah.
But if you're the type of person who's just like,
you're around a lot of random crazy ass friends.
You just got a bunch of ratchetness going on, and they be like, hey, meet my buddy.
Yeah,
like,
that's what you don't get.
You might get ratchetness, or you might get a random good guy. Like, you never know.
He probably was end up in that situation just like you. Like, I don't know why we're here, but we're here. So
I mean, I did actually, and I only came to that like a funny short story. I only came to that conclusion in like recent years. I dated somebody and he told me straight up, when I met you, I was like, because of where we were and who we were around. So I was at an event for a person that I would consider like a friend of mine, but it was a friend of mine that I had for like a long period of time. We all know people change over time. Probably not a friend I would choose to have like now if I met them now. But because it was a friend from a long time ago, I went to a family gathering of theirs. That person met them the same type of way, like known them for a long time. And kind of told me like, if this was a friend that you had like things in common with and that was the type of person you are, that's what I was thinking when I met you. If that was the case, I would never date you.
That's most people.
And I was like,
yeah.
Damn, I need to be careful what kind of friends I'm choosing.
Set you up for the okie doke.
But I mean, it just so happened that he was a good guy and he, you know, he was honest with me, and it really gave me the chance to like check myself and be like, wow, look at the type of people I have around me. And it was just that person, because like I said, it was a person that I've known for a long time. But it did give me a moment to like do some self-reflection and go, gosh, I want to have people around me that I know would never, like, I don't have to second guess if you introduce me to somebody and say, Amanda, he's single, you know, he's a good guy. I would never have to look at you and go like, what kind of guy do you think is a good guy? You know what I mean? And I don't think we pay attention enough as like, at 25, I wasn't even thinking about that. At 25, I was like, he's cute, I'm cool.
I mean, I think as you get older, certain variables happen, and you look more for quality, not quantity, and that makes perfect sense. I think, you know, if I was in the dating world and I had to meet someone, when I was in the dating world, I like meeting people random. Like in random situations, random places, and it wasn't necessary that it was around a friend or family member or something like that. It could have been simply, I was at a festival and I seen somebody that saw me, we started talking, or it could have been a situation where they just walked into somewhere, we so happened to spark up a conversation, or, you know, something really random, because that makes it feel for me that it was very genuine.
And it was natural.
And it was natural. It wasn't kind of a forced situation where, you know, I start liking all your pictures and you're like, hey, what's going on? What's good? Like, that's kind of forced because I had to spark your attention in order for you to see me. But if we're in the same space together and it's just really random, like I'm walking up the street, you walk up the street, I see you, see me, hey, how you doing? I'll open the door, you say, oh, thank you. And
but that's also like,
you know,
that's who we are from our era.
Yeah.
It's not
right now.
You know, because if I was on Facebook and I wanted your attention, that's how I would get it.
Like.
No, I'm not gonna stalk her. But that's how I would get it. I would like send you a message, or I would let you know so you can pay attention.
No, and that's completely fine. I mean, some of that stuff is still random too. You know what I'm saying? Because you can be friends. I have over 5,000 friends on Facebook. And I don't know all these people, you know what I'm saying? So sometimes you can literally bump into somebody off of just a random situation on these social media platforms. Like, oh, hey, what's up? I didn't know we was friends. Didn't know we were friends either. So what you doing? Like, you know what I'm saying? It can be one of those situations, but I think just because the era we're from, I think for me, the more natural it is, the better you can get to know someone, because you can catch a person off guard. That's why I like to kind of see people meet people in person for the first time, because it's like, oh wow, I wasn't expecting, you didn't have a chance to powder your face, and he didn't have a chance to brush his beard down or whatever. It is what it is. It's what you see is what you get, and whatever comes out your mouth is what's going to sustain anything going forward. So I think for me, that's just part of the thing. Like if I was in the dating field, I'm not, but if I was in the dating field, I'd be like, yeah, I would just be really random. I wouldn't say I wouldn't do the dating app thing, but I think it would be just as a curiosity of how does it look, how does it feel, who's on here, how, you know. But I think just really random, just being in places where I think for me, like I said, a festival, something that's interesting to me, which means it's interesting to you, which we already have something in common. We're walking into the same coffee shop, we have something in common. You like the coffee here, I like the coffee here. So it's not an awkward conversation, but when you meet somebody, like through a situation, through a dating app or something like that, you gotta kind of find out if you have some
You gotta
similar
make stuff.
interests.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? I gotta give you a little bit more information just to see if any of this stuff sticks.
So, with that said, how many of those people on dating apps or like social media that are actively seeking out dating situations? Now, I have a percentage. How many of those people, as far as the percentage is concerned, do you actually think are looking for a relationship? It's not gonna be what you think, but.
Looking for a relationship? 45%.
This says 80.
Really? That really wants a relationship? They say that, but I don't believe that.
It says according to this specific survey, 80% of the individuals are not being deliberate about being single. 80% say that they are looking for a relationship, to be in a committed relationship, but in the meantime, they're having a good time.
Wait, we'll look it up. Yeah.
It says, so, what's the percentage of people that actually end up committing within the first few months?
Committing to the person I met? I'm still gonna stay in the 40s.
It's 50%.
Okay.
If they dated a person for a significant amount of time, a few months, being like 2 to 3 months,
Yeah.
if it was the same person consistently, about 50% go into a committed relationship. After 6 months, it goes down to 30%.
But let me ask a question though.
Okay.
I think that's average, even if it's on an app or not. Because if you're spending time, consistent time with a person for 3 months, 3 months is a long time.
See, and I was thinking about, as I was reading this, right? So I watch a lot of those little dating shows too, like on TV. And there's this, there's one in Europe called Love Island, and then the US has a similar one called Paradise Island. And there's like, they put like single people together in a house, and they pretty much like match up, right? And I was watching the show, and the show is only probably like 5 weeks. And I was thinking about that, you know, with preparing for this, and I'm like, they literally, like, you come in, I come in, we're both single, I think you're attractive, you think I am, we talk, realize we have some kind of connection, but they're like closed off from the outside world. They don't have a phone, they don't have internet, they're literally like in this house. And it's funny to compare how we date regularly on the outside, and then these people and their relationships, the advancement of those relationships is like crazy because they're secluded to just that person, right? Like, so how you just said like 3 months is a long time. These people spend like 5 to 6 weeks. So it's 2 months in this. You know, the European one, they spend it in like this huge villa. Here, they're in a mansion of some kind with a pool, jacuzzi, whatever. So, of course, the most optimum, like, beautiful home setup is great. Like, and you're with this individual. You don't have anything but time to get to know each other, to talk about whatever. You know, so by the time they hit 3 or 4 days, it's like they've had a full-fledged 6-month relationship. By the time they hit a week, they're boyfriend and girlfriend.
Because you have nothing but time to figure out who you are with this person and who this person is with you. And that's what I'm saying, like 3 months, if we both was here for that same reason, like we're here to get in a relationship.
3 months is forever.
You're putting in a lot of effort in 3 months. Like a lot of things are happening in that 3 months. Of course, sex is popping off, maybe. Like I would say about 75% is popping off. But at least, you know, you're being intimate, you're talking a lot, you're texting a lot, somebody's staying at somebody's crib, y'all going out to dinner, y'all having your dates, like 3 months together consistently almost every day. I can see that. I can see we locked this in. Now in 6 months, if we're kind of, here and there, seeing each other, kind of not seeing each other. We're checking in every now and then. That's not really like a lot of effort. So 6 months, I can see where that kind of goes downhill when it's, we're taking our time.
Yeah. So it's, I mean, there's so much.
Yeah. Because we gotta get up out of here. We gotta wrap it up. But I will say this: if you're dating, and be very clear about what you're looking for. And we didn't really get into the sex part of it today, so I'm gonna touch on it very lightly. Be very clear about what you're looking for. If you just want some sex, right? If you just want some cheeks, all right? Just say that so that everyone knows where you are. And women too. Women are very, very clear a lot of times when they just want some cheeks, and that's okay. But women don't like try to play the I just want to. No, if you want to just get down, a man can appreciate that, and he'll move on. Like because some guys are very sensitive, and I'll say a lot of men are sensitive. They are looking for a relationship, especially if they're really into you. But if you're only there for one thing, and they're like putting other effort into it, it gets really blurry for them. So just say, hey, look, I'm here to get it popping with you, and don't get too attached to just and
stick to that. I'm glad you said that. Stick to that.
Stick to it.
Because what I have found too is that, I have a lot of girlfriends or people that talk about dating. They're like, oh, I just want to date. I just want something really casual. Me and, my ex just separated or broke up, and I'm trying to like chill. And then you meet this one guy and you're like, oh, he's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Yeah.
And then, 3-4 months from now, you're like, oh, I should have waited, or I should have kind of talked to a bunch of people. I should have gotten to know like really what I want. Like if you're wanting to play the field or kind of reestablish yourself, do that.
That's fine.
And say that when you meet somebody, like I'm dating, I want to be single for a little while, I have some kind of like getting to know myself to do, like just be honest about that and really do that. Because I think people aren't intentional enough about how they're operating, and they just kind of go with the flow of things. And then, like you said, things get sticky and blurry, and then they're like, oh, well, I just ended up wanting this instead.
Yeah.
And when the other person doesn't go with what you want, now you're mad at them.
Things blow up fast. Just know that. Like if you want to know why you're in this sticky mess, it's because somebody didn't stick to the script. So don't go left, don't go right, just stay on the path. And if things start to get a little blurry, y'all stop and talk about it. And sometimes just walking away from the situation, because what most people do, to your point, they get in a relationship with somebody or a situation, and they go, oh man, maybe I should have waited on this. It wasn't what I thought it was going to be. And it's easier to dismantle and destroy it and walk away than just try to figure a way out of it gracefully. So they always end up to be very ugly, because the other person has emotion and feelings involved. And now you're looking like, my bad, I should have.
And this is not to say
I wasn't trying to get here, but we are.
Yeah, it's not to say that like changing your feelings is wrong or growing to like somebody is a bad thing, but when those feelings are not reciprocated, I think our natural defense is like, I'm mad that I was rejected. And don't take it out on that person if that wasn't the plan to begin with. If you walked in saying like, I'm just dating, it's casual, it's not a big deal, and then when you decide you're all in and they're not there, you can't be mad at them for that.
Right.
If it develops into something great, and if it doesn't, that's okay too, lesson learned.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes we go into something and when we're like, oh, well, I feel this way now. And they're like, I'm not there.
I wasn't there.
People are like, oh my God, I'm so upset, or I'm offended, or I'm pissed off and it's like, well, I didn't walk in.
I didn't tell you what I was here for.
So don't be mad. Like,
didn't leave a toothbrush at your house.
It is what it is, people. We're all adults. Just be honest and go with the flow. And if you meet somebody you're supposed to be with, it'll happen.
Absolutely.
Kind of like you said, Prince said it best, organically, naturally.
That's right. And guys, once again, if you're not there for a full relationship or something deeper connection, if y'all do end up having sex, don't give it a relationship sex. You know what I'm talking about. Don't go all the way in. Don't do all those freaky things you do with your woman Because as soon as you toss that salad, that's kind of too much. But as soon as you get too far, she's like, you are my boyfriend. You are my boyfriend now.
That was so gross.
But you know what I'm talking about. Come on now. As soon as you do that boyfriend sex, like he's my boyfriend, we're together now. And ladies, you too. You cannot be giving the wifey sex up. Like you just can't. I'm talking about all the tricks.
The definition of boyfriend and wifey sex is to be determined on another show. We're not gonna talk about that right now.
That'll be next week. That'll be next week. All right, guys, well, we're gonna get out of here. Thank you so much for watching. Please go like and share and subscribe to our channel. You can always catch me on my social media at P Hakeem, which is right down here, and
Unmatched_unapologetic. There's some zeros in there. I'm not gonna do all that, but you can. Yeah, it's over here somewhere.
over there somewhere. Good job. It's just like closer to what it was. Go follow us on Instagram at Morning Coffee and on Facebook at Morning Coffee. We appreciate y'all. Until next time.